I'm Stephanie J. Block. Hi, I'm Teal Wicks. I play Lady. I'm Michaela Diamond. I play Babe.
I'm Matthew Heinzig. I play Gregory Allman.
Hey guys, I'm Michael Campano and I play Rob Camilletti.
Hi, Michael Barres. I play Bob Mackey, Robert Allman, the evil friend.
I'm Jared Spector. Wow, that was a lot. I play Sonny Bono.
But I feel like I'm in cosplay for Anna from Frozen. What do you think? A little bit, right?
And I feel like I'm in cosplay for Stephanie J. Block. I saw this show just before you opened, December 3rd at the Neil Simon Theater, and what a crazy opening night you guys had. It was awesome, but I was the happiest I've been in a theater in a really long time. Are you guys just, what is it like to be able to bring something that's just flash and heart and joy and, you know, a big rock concert to the stage?
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy to put out on that stage, and a lot of energy coming back from the audience, because it's just, it is like a rock concert, and our audiences really get into it, and they are very responsive, and it's just a lot of energy going back and forth, and we have about 1,000 quick changes running around.
Like I said, the dressers are the heroes of your show.
Yeah. They deserve huge applause, because our show would end after 5 minutes if it wasn't for them.
But I think Cher set the tone for that, right? So she's been around for 6 decades, and that's what people have come to expect. If you're going to see the Cher show, you're not looking for a flavor or a genre that's going to be somber or a boutique musical, or, you know what I mean? You need the sparkles, you need the flash. So we're trying to check off all those boxes that people who have fallen in love with Cher through the decades can sit there and we hit the expectations, hopefully, and then we add the meat on the bones, which is the humanity and the sort of beautiful underbelly of her life, well beyond what she also presents on stage. So there is this beautiful balance. All of it comes with a lot of song and dance and shine, because that's who Cher is. Like, with Cher, more is more, right? And that's what works. You can't just kind of, let's break this down and to have a real, you know, dissected musical production. Ain't gonna work. So we feel awesome knowing that we're giving people what they're looking for, and hopefully that little extra that perhaps they didn't expect when they walked in the door.
I mean, and also the three of you forming a character voice, not just the sound of Cher, but what it's like to hear one person through 3 people.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's 3 people playing one character, and we play her at different times in her life, but the nature of the way the show is structured, it's not necessarily linear, and so we have scenes with each other, we're talking to each other at various times and singing together, and so although we also wanted everybody to believe that we were Cher and be like, okay, we'll go on this ride with you, we also wanted it to be believable that we could all be one person. And so, in addition to finding the Cher voice, it was also finding things within each other. Physicality, maybe just sort of like the attack of certain emotions or words or whatever. It's kind of trying to find a balance of the 3 of us. Like, I as Lady, I play the middle Cher. And there are times where I need to pull on Michaela's Babe sort of isms, because it's like, here's a little softer, more tender, more hopeful, joyous moment, and then times where I need to pull on Stephanie's Star, because this is something where I need to, like, as Cher says, pull up my big girl pants and, you know, step up and be a little bit tougher and wiser. And yeah, it was a lot of time spent in random rooms with each other in rehearsals, just talking to each other, throwing balls, doing weird
I was going to say, Michaela, you told me on opening night, which, shout out if any of you watch Playbill's Red Carpet Opening Night Lives and keep me company before these guys get there. But you were telling me that it was about finishing each other's sentences as Michaela and Teal and Stephanie, even before it was finishing each other's sentences as Cher and working with Kate.
Well, we were lucky because we've been a part of this for a long time, and so our director kind of gave us the patience and like love to find who, like, this story adds Michaela first, And I think since we were so grounded in who we were able to tell an honest story first and then add the Cher aspect, which is a huge aspect, but I think we wanted it to be, the goal has always been to tell her story, not do an impression, because there are 1,000 people who could do it better than us. So we wanted to do both. And I think since we had the time to do that, we started as us.
How did you find those voices, and again, making sure it's not an imitation, but something that you're bringing to the role and to the stage?
Take it away, Cher.
Sonny's tricky because he starts out like a caricature. I mean, you know, sort of the Sonny Bono that we know from, especially from Comedy Hour, and even earlier than that, even in their pop songs. You know, it's so nasal and high and specific, and it, you know, I think that that's sort of the danger in doing an imitation of someone specifically like him. So. I certainly did listen to the songs ad nauseum and sang along until I couldn't hear the difference between my voice and his voice in times. And then I felt like if I could hit that in a couple of moments, then it would give me leeway to be not quite exactly like him the rest of the show.
And I feel like you must be almost an expert at not doing the imitation, having done Frankie Valli and having done Barry over at Beautiful, and now doing Sonny. You're the expert on bringing someone to the stage, but not, you know, we're not resurrecting anyone here.
Yeah, no, I think what they're saying, what the three ladies have said is exactly right. Starting from, our job as actors doesn't change even when you're playing a real life person. You're still starting with the words on the page and doing justice to the author's work. And then, because you're playing a real life person, a lot of your choices are sort of pre-made for you, and so then, okay, so I can't play Frankie with a limp, but I can, you know, I have to do all the things I could when I was injured, but but you have to sort of do, you have to bring to life the real person that everyone has expectations of seeing. And I think a big part of that is hitting a few important pillars like Cher's voice, Sonny's voice. For me, like the way that Sonny carries himself with his sort of groin forward and the way his sort of like, loosey-goosey arms. It is very specific. And if you hit a couple of those, then you can just do your job as an actor, say, what is my action in the scene, what does my character want, and go and get it.
Matthew, with Greg, I know you were saying you grew up listening to his music and that sound was just in your ear.
Greg's singing voice was really easy for me to start with because, like you said, I grew up playing Allman Brothers. I knew Live at Fillmore East and Brothers and Sisters and Eat a Peach I verbatim knew every word. So the sound came really easily. It was the speaking that was harder because once he was a soft-spoken man, he had a very long Nashville, suburb of Nashville accent, which is specific. And then it sort of changed over the years when we moved to Macon, Georgia. So it was really difficult for me to get the speech down because it's hard to stay immediate and be right on top of the line and acting on line when you have a slower dialect. So that was the hardest thing for me, to try to find the urgency in what he's got to say. But it's hard to sound urgent when there's a guy that's notorious for never really speaking much. And so they said,
I feel like that's when also the physicality comes in too. I just feel like he was like a palm blowing in the wind the whole time I was watching. Right?
I think I liken him to like a blonde Sasquatch. And it's funny because one of the consistent compliment that I've gotten from people that knew him is that, and from Cher too. When she first saw it with Bob Mackey, we were in Chicago, and Bob's like, "Cher lost her shit." I was like, "What?" He said, "She was in the back trying not to make a scene, but when you walked on, she lost it because she's like, he's walking like him." And the only reason I know that he had this limp is a couple things. He was very lanky, he was tall, and he had this limp because he shot himself in the foot to get out of the knob. So seriously, he had this. Here's the Gregory look. So basically, and it works.
I love that we're having show and tell.
Works with heels, yeah. So basically, this is his arms. So first it's the arms. So the hips are first, and the arms are like this. Now, if you add a limp in the left foot, it makes you drop a little bit. So then this is kind of the slowed down Gregory walk here. And then that informs everything. So when you add the hair starts going, and then you got Gregory. Yeah.
Sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Sharing is caring.
These are the jokes, people.
It never gets old.
Of course, I mean, we've talked about, and there's so much out there about all of the research that you all have done done, whether it's watching YouTube clips to see these physicalities, old concerts, listening to the records over and over, the Sonny and Cher show, Cher's solo show, all of those things. Michael Campagno, because we have two, your character is a little bit lesser known.
Yeah, it's funny, for somebody who was so stalked by the paparazzi, you can't find a thing on the guy. I searched very hard to find a lot of research on Rob Camilletti, who is a pilot in LA. I just gave that away. He probably doesn't want you to know that. He's a pilot in LA, and he flies private planes now. But he's still alive. He was a younger lover of Cher when she was 40. He was about 23. And he was this young guy from Queens. Very grounded, salt of the earth, kind of like that. And I tried to find so much on this guy, but I found one YouTube clip of him speaking for like 5 seconds. And it was around the time, it was in the 80s too, so it was around the time when there was a lot of paparazzi. MTV did a whole thing on him, and it actually helped me out so much, and I was actually so grateful because I thought a lot of my job was going to be imitating, and I thought a lot of people would remember him, but I think what people remember is the essence of him, and the essence of what he allowed Cher to be and become. And a lot of people remember the men in Cher's life, and I think a lot of people remember him as like a cute little sexy boy, and there's that. But
Typecast.
Yeah.
So you think
it's
you're sexy?
truly. That is the end of our talk back. We'll see you guys later. No, I think it really allowed me to be a lot freer and just focus with Stephanie. And for me, it was challenging because it was one of the moments of the play that was truly stripped away. It's just me and Stephanie speaking.
Yeah, it becomes really granted when
Right.
your relationship comes to the
Right, really
forefront.
vulnerable in that, but still stylized, which is so well done by Jason, our director. But it allowed me to really just focus on our relationship and what I can give to Cher and how she can grow from me as a person, as opposed to the imitation of Rob or playing this young, youthful guy. So it actually was something that freed me as an actor.
I'm going to piggyback on her being rooted, and I think if you go to a Cher concert even today or look at her footage, we all remember it as it being a spectacle and high performance. But if you look at Cher, she's the eye of the storm. Everything's happening around her, and she's wearing things that may weigh 30 pounds, dripping with sequins, but she's walking like your neighbor down that stage. She's walking with confidence, but ease and comfortability, and it's very natural to her. And then Bob Mackie said to us, you gotta realize she walks the same way in jeans that she would in a couture gown, and that's what makes her so accessible. So you look up to her because there she is looking like a goddess, but yet she is grounded, and I say this in air quotes, but as normal as any woman could be. And that sort of, but being both sides of the coin at the same time is really unique and very rare, and she is that. She's both sides of the coin.
Michael, you play Bob Mackie, who has been Cher's costume designer, fashion designer, I should say, for years, and designed the costumes for this production. He's someone who, we see in the photos with Cher, he's alongside her, whether it's at the Oscars or what have you, but we don't hear a lot from him. We don't know a lot about the personality behind that. So what was it that you wanted to bring to him as a character on the stage, and him working with you in the fitting room, absorbing pieces of him?
First of all, can we just give it up for Bob Mackie for
Yes,
a
we
second?
can. I heard there are over 400 costumes in the show. Over 600 corrected from
There are 400 costume changes.
400 costume changes, 600 costumes. Unbelievable.
And I will say, Bob will be 80 in March. He is working as hard today as he was in 1975, doing as many clothes as he was every week for both Carol Burnett and for Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. He's the nicest man in the world. But how many of you ever have seen Bob Mackie talk on camera? So, a couple. But that's basically it. We were talking about Rob Camilletti. Everyone in the world knows what Bob's garments look like. They know what he represents.
His creation, what comes out of him.
But they
not
don't really know
necessarily
the man. And so for me, I get to play three different very, very different characters in the show. Robert Altman, the film director, and also, as I refer to him, the evil Frank, who is a director of the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour and also the Cher Show back in the 70s. But I think the thing about Bob is he's such a humble man. He would never ask for the kind of attention that he affords all of us who are lucky enough to wear his designs. But there is this crazy, thrilling costume parade in the first act of the show where it's unbelievable. It's everything you want it to be and more. And at the very, very end of it, I step down stage center in a little pose, and the audience goes crazy. And I know perfectly well that it has very little to do with me, but it gives the audience a target for their gratitude. Bob never does that. He never asks for the limelight. He never puts himself out there front and center. So for them to have a play, and whenever Bob's in the house, I try to find him. I try to make eye contact with him just so he knows and can really feel that wave of gratitude and love coming from the audience. It's a wonderful thing for me be able to give to Bob. And for me, also, Bob is an incredibly joyful person. And more than anything else, I think that's the single most important thing for me to try to capture about Bob.
Well, I think